Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boring Enterprise Nerdcast / also show and tell episode. I'm Elena Perfileva, and my co-host, as always, is Paul Moderman. Please smile and wave, Paul. And we have really exciting guest today with us. It's Dominik Panzer. And Dominik, I have been following your post on social media, and I think it broader SAP community for a while. It's really great to talk to you in person today. So please introduce yourself to our guests.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm quite happy to be here. My name is Dominik. I'm living in Würzburg, Germany. I'm a SAP consultant for about 15 years now, I think. I got into the business when I opened up Google and typed in it SAP plus Würzburg, the city where I'm living in, because I was searching for an internship. And I started at a company called Intense AG. We're doing SAP ISU consulting, and I'm still with the company today. Today, as you can read, I'm a senior manager and doing stuff around software engineering. And yeah, I'm quite active on Twitter and raging with the usual guys about ABAP development, about software development processes, about testing, and yeah, all the important stuff that's in the SAP world with focus on software development.
I'm really glad to see the ABAP developer at heart thing in your profile here. Like I like it when people, maybe they've ascended to management or whatever, that's fine. But like you know yourself, right? Like at the end of the day, I like sitting in front of some code and hacking around, right?
Yeah, I'm developing software daily. I'm still coding.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Awesome.
I don't think it's a good idea to change that when you're a manager in the software engineering business. You still have to know some basics and the problems of a people to be a good manager. And therefore you have to code.
Yeah.
Not the most important things, not the most critical things, but you have to code to get a feeling for what's up.
Yeah, I agree. And surprisingly, subject for our conversation today, it's not ABAP, but rather management of the software development process, which I think is subject that developers deal with daily, I think, in most organizations. And Dominik, you shared some thoughts before this conversation that to me, they struck a chord with me and Paul both, because it's just these things we deal with all the time, and they are important. Yet I think there are problems. There might be some solutions around how agile is approached in companies, how Scrum or any different processes are used. So let's just go with it. Let's just go with like what grinds your gears, Dominik, with your daily work. What do you see as like common problems, and what in the end, what do we do about this?
Yeah. I don't know if you know the situation too, but in some companies, people decide, oh, let's do Scrum, and we send some people to a 2 days training. There's a multiple choice test with 30 questions at the end. Now, you're certified Scrum Master. Now everything will be better.
Right.
But sadly, the reality is that just doing this won't change anything, and in the worst case, will make things worse for everybody.
Yeah.
That's a common problem with frameworks. You need to adapt them to your own needs, and you need to do mainly more stuff than there's actually in maybe the Scrum Guide or the Kanban handbook or whatever you're preferring. Usually, you need to work with a process that aware. And you need technical excellence. Without technical excellence, you can do any framework you want. You won't get the results you want. Especially if you say, oh, our company wants to be agile. Agile, in my definition, in simple words, is react to change fast and get feedback fast. So you can decide to change directions. And in many companies, these feedback cycles are very, 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 very long. Companies move very, very slow, and you can't change that by just saying, "Hey, we're doing Scrum today."
Yeah, that's something I think about sometimes too, because I've lived through a couple of companies kind of having somebody gets a bee in their bonnet. Like, yeah, I think agile's a good word. So agile,
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
be. And like, I think people, one thing, at least from my perspective, over the years that I kind of learned is that like the result you get is proportional to the energy you put into like making that a good thing. And that goes not just for software development, but for like the process you put around it. You have to put energy and care into the process itself if you want the process to bear good fruit, right? You can't
Yeah.
just say, "Oh, good, now we have a process. We can ignore the process and do what we do." Like put the brain power into the process as well, and
Yeah.
then the multiplication happens, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's funny that one of the first points that you mentioned in our previous collaboration, it's nothing gets finished. And I think it also connected with a common problem of stories and estimation. So to me, I have seen very many very funny memes on this subject where it's like developers like, 34 points. But
Story points is a great
yes,
topic.
yeah.
Um,
So let's. I'm kind of struggling to define this on the spot because I think they two are connected. It's like providing maybe our end customer some kind of reasonable estimate, like when approximately they will get something. I think it's a reasonable request from their side, but
Absolutely.
also I feel they have sometimes unreasonable expectations when it comes to that. And there are also lots of side problems with management of the project itself, and like long feedback cycles that you mentioned is one of them. Why let's maybe start with story points. Like what's a common
If you
problem with
want,
story points?
well, there are many problems with story points.
What's
But
top
once
three?
I would like to talk about this. Well, many people use story points and like with Fibonacci numbers and say, okay, we have
Yes.
story points and that's complexity.
Yeah.
Okay, we're measuring complexity. And when 5 minutes later, somebody says, if 3 story points equals 8 hours, okay?
Yes.
So you don't need story points if you're just saying, okay, this equals a certain amount of hours. The original idea was to get some abstract, meaningless number to compare different items. And if I remember correctly, the inventor of story points today says it was a bad idea. Yet it's used everywhere. And by the way, it's not in the Scrum guide. People add it. They think it's part of it. And another thing that's interesting, or what I realized when coaching some teams, usually you would expect that a 1 story point story takes an amount of, I don't know, 8 hours, and a 15 story point is within a Fibonacci number. I don't know. A 15 story
Yeah,
point.
I think so. Yeah.
Does it matter? A 15 story point number is way more effort, and it will take longer to solve that problem or to finish that story. And if you do the numbers, you will see that there's usually no correlation between the story point size and the actual time something takes to finish. That's
So
making
I
the
have
whole concept quite useless. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
maybe controversial question. Would you just do away with story points altogether? And how would you do it, let's say, without story points?
Oh, it's an evil question. Oh, it's a good question. I'm not proposing story points. I wouldn't do them. You can do, if you want to use story points because it delivers value in some kind, I would tell the people to do a simple version of story points, like it's way too big, you need to split it up. It's 3 story points and it's 1 story point. Everything that's bigger than 3 story points, split it up.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, we need story points because when we're doing this Scrum poker stuff, we can talk together about that user story. And my point would be, you can talk about the user story without doing planning poker or whatever. Just sit together, sit together and do it.
Hey, Dominik, I'm actually curious. Is there an experience in your career that has led you to being more and more passionate about this style of managing things? Agile and Scrum, etc., so on. Pick your vocabulary word, right? Is there an experience in your career that is like, this was like, oh, this was great, or oh, this was terrible, that kind of gave you the gas in your tank of like, I need to have good ideas around this, right?
Defining moment.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's 12 years ago, I visited my first Scrum course together with my former project manager. And that was my first contact with real agile software development, and we tried it out internally with some products, and it didn't work too well because, like I said, 2 days of certification. The people were not full time in the project, so they had a lot of overhead, and that didn't work. And so I did some projects with classical project management, and then came back to a product team which really wanted to do agile software development, because younger peeps, they don't know the classical approach. We're from another generation, I might say. And we started doing Scrum, and I was actually not happy with the results. And I realized that some common ideas to solve the usual problems, for example, oh, we didn't finish stuff at the end of the sprint, but the common solutions people think about, like we need to work harder, or we need to estimate better, or let's don't do 2-week sprints, let's do 4-week sprints. It doesn't fit in 4 weeks. We need to, this doesn't solve anything. And I got on a journey to find out what actually solves these problems, because I wanted to help the team. And now we are in a S4 Utilities transition project, and I'm adapting that to that project to try to help that team. And for many people, it's a big step, but in my eyes, it's very valuable, because stakeholders want to see results. That's a good right. And after the second or third sprint review, where you say, oh, we were unable to deliver value, we did some customizing stuff, but we can't show you any process, stakeholders get nervous, and I don't like nervous stakeholders. Nobody does. So I started to dig in, and it's a quite, how do you say it, a deep rabbit hole, I think. You can do a lot. You get into agile coaching stuff. I got into agile games, serious games, and it was fun. So I continued.
Right.
So I think it's a very common issue, and you mentioned that everyone works by themselves. And I think I work a lot on the projects that involve both front-end developers and back-end developers. So this would be like SAP Fiori or other front-ends, and back-end would be in SAP ABAP mostly. And common issues that I'm seeing, it's a managing of dependencies, because there is always something needs to be done first. Like, for example, you need an API to actually do anything with the front end. So do you have any tips for managing this kind of dependent work? Because otherwise it ends up with first part of the sprint, front-end team is just sitting there almost like twiddling their thumbs, like, oh, we don't have an API, what do we do? And back-end team is, rushing, they're sweating, and then it's the other way around. So what's your hot tip for managing dependencies like that?
I've seen this, but you do a little waterfall then. You do a front-end sprint, and after the front-end sprint, there's the back-end sprint, and that's the testing sprint, and that's the deployment sprint, and then there's the refactoring sprint. And this happens to teams, and very good reasons for that. One reason, the reason for most problems is that the stories you're trying to implement are too big. If you're doing smaller stuff, then the raw API definition is very, very fast, and the front-end developers can start doing stuff, and the back-end developers can implement their stuff, or the front-end developers can do some stuff with a dummy JSON test document instead of a real web service or whatever and start to work. And then the goal is to link it together in the same sprint to get a usable result, because front end alone is not quite good for a user, and the backend alone mostly doesn't solve any problem. So you need to work in small steps and work together. Maybe you need to get more, how do you call it, T-shaped, as I think the word. You need to know what's left and right for it. You can basically do a little backend and a little front end, so you can help yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
Or what's also quite a classic is to do actually pair programming. If a front end and a backend developer do pair programming long enough, we are capable of doing both in a at least basic way. So we are not standing on each other's toes and waiting for each other. You just can help each other, and that makes things faster. But for most people, that's quite big change. And it really takes time and coaching to make that happen.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to see a world where pair programming happened more often. Like the very few times I've been able to do it, luckily it's been in the room with somebody. It has felt very impactful, but it also felt like we all were getting those. It was me and a friend of mine who were kind of pair programming on something, and we were getting funny looks from other people, right? On doing the thing. So and I'm just curious, like, is that specifically something you've seen happen? Is a pair programming approach on things?
I think since about 4 years, no, even before the pandemic, I'm just doing pair programming most of the time. I'm not working anymore, because it's a great way to onboard junior consultants into the project, and it's a great way to share knowledge. The funny looks are less when you're in a remote scenario, because you don't see it. But here's the thing: actually, software development is not so much about technical stuff. It's way more about the human factor and communication. And if communication doesn't happen or doesn't work, you run into many problems. So pair programming is a great way for communication. That's why I'm a big fan of that.
Okay.
I can't do it the whole day because it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
I need breaks.
It is.
I've got some boring management stuff to do too. That's the truth. But I get so many valuable ideas from doing pair programming, and we together, through the two people looking at the code, bad stuff happens less frequency, less bugs. Bad design is not a problem, or less a problem. You don't need specific code reviews if you're into that, because two people looked at it.
It's kind of self-reviewing at that point, right? It's the review happens during the build, essentially.
And that's actually agile, because it's a fast feedback. If you're coding 3 days alone and you put it in the code review process, and when it's waiting another 3 days until a colleague comes and reviews it, that's not very fast. And during these waiting times, you will start to implement a new feature. You forget about what you implemented in the first ticket. The feedback will be, you need to change something in your code, and you're sitting in front of the code and say, why did I do this way? It makes you super slow. So a big goal is fast feedback cycles.
I would say like pre-code review, or maybe if you don't do even like full pair programming, I think some elements of it are very helpful, because for me, like you said, I have lots of other stuff to do during the day, and it can be just maybe too expensive sometimes for me to sit with someone and like, okay, what do we do about this? But when we ended up working together with other developers on something common, or maybe they're helping me, I'm helping them, it resulted in exactly like you said, shortened time. And then code review was essentially just very quick check, because like I've already seen it, we've already discussed it. There is really nothing special to look at. So that's really great. One problem I think, and I don't know, Dominik, if you mostly deal with teams who are in the same time zone or like in close by at least, but for us in the US especially, I think I honestly don't remember when was the last project where everyone was on the same continent, much less in the same time zone. So we have 4 time zones in the US alone. And then when we're working with people in other countries, and very typically somewhere in Asia, it's just purely time, I think, division. That's what really, I think, sets apart. Sets back a
Makes
lot
everything
of
more
jobs.
complicated. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah, so when someone is saving costs on on offshore development, think about the impact that you get in terms of
Works
time.
great. Offshore development works great. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know. There's a more even other thing that gets you even funnier looks, and that's called mob programming or ensemble programming. Don't know if you know that. That's when the whole team sits in front of one computer.
Oh, really? That would be interesting.
And we're just rotating the keyboard. That's the
I think that would be a tough
variant of that.
Yeah.
There's a famous company in the US who's famous for doing that. We're doing stuff for watering lawns. I think we're the market leader for that. I need to check and send you the link. We have a own podcast where we talk about the advantages of that system and why we have 0 bugs for like 2 years. So for them it works. Doesn't mean it works in every context, but we usually try it out once a year internally as a coaching session to let the people know that such stuff exists and they can use it more, because most people don't even know about the different developer techniques actually.
Right.
That's not part of university or whatever.
Boy, that would be I wouldn't want to do it every day, but man, I would love to do that sometimes. Holy cow, would I love that.
Yeah. That's actually quite good. It's a card game to teach that. So with the different roles you can have in such a mod, because the guy or the girl on the keyboard is we're just typing, we're doing nothing. We're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. So basically you can chill. And there's the mob who discusses what to do next and what's the next step. There's one person who says, okay, that's the decision. Now code whatever needs to be done. There's some people who know whose job is to find information and others to ask funny questions or whatever. There are quite different roles you can use to bring in different perspectives into such a mob. That's quite some interesting stuff. Oh, we could play with too in another podcast too.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of games, so we talked about playing that very interesting games that Dominik you suggested. Maybe you can make an introduction. The game is called TWiG or TWiG. If anyone just Googles TWiG, of course there are pictures of branches and hair salons for some reason.
Beautiful.
So maybe you can tell our viewers and listeners what's the game is about.
Yeah, TWiG, the VIP game, VIP like WIP, work in progress. It's a game which simulates a software team, and you've got some, how do you call it? Agile board, Scrum board, Kanban board, whatever thing, and your job is to finish stories, tickets, bugs, whatever, as fast as possible. And the idea is that you, that's it. That you as a software development team play that game, do decisions which people you put on which ticket to do the work, and think about how to get the work done as fast as possible. And that's quite interesting because to do it with a real software development team who finish, I don't know, a story once a week, trying out different things takes a lot of time. With this game, you just press a button and a day passes and work finishes or doesn't finishes, and you can try different tactics, what to do next. And you can get very good learning aspects doing this game, I think, and talk about common problems like blockers that you see over there. And you've got some analytics with it. And that's a big step. Many Scrum teams I've known don't actually do. They generate data, because every time you move a ticket, when there's a timestamp, basically. But they don't use the data to analyze what they can improve, or to say, maybe we can use that data to predict when the story will be finished. So you can answer the evil question, when will it be done? With such metrics, if you're doing your stuff right. And that's, in my opinion, a very great thing. You don't need the estimation, buffering stuff. You just use the data.
Do you guys want to play around?
Sure,
play a round or two?
Well, let's try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So we got this board with different teams. There's analysis, there's implementation, there's testing, and on the far right there's done. And here are options. That's basically your backlog. Those things are your user stories, product backlog items, bugs, whatever. And those peeps up there are your team. And the red ones are the business analysts, the blue ones are the developers, and the green ones are the testers. And as you can see, you got those little blocks. And the first row is the work the business analysts have to do. The second row is the work the developers have to do. And the third row is the testers have to do. And you see the different tickets, they have different effort. Here's a little analysis, but equal implementation and testing effort. And here's something different. And the idea is to put these little peeps on one of those many as you want. You press play, they do their best and work and fill those little things with the red, the blue, or the green color. And if all blocks are colorized, then it's finished. And so the user stories walk from left to right. And as you also can see, there's an age, item aging on every ticket. So this item Q started 4 days ago. And that actually gives you a hint on prioritization, because if your goal is to finish fast, you maybe should focus on finishing the tickets which are the oldest.
Interesting.
That's the basic idea. So we are a software development management team now, and you can tell me, okay, Dominik, please move the business analyst on whatever item you want. Just give me some.
Okay. So if I'm reading this right, task or story T still has 4 blocks to fill of the analysis, right?
Absolutely.
So
right.
if I'm allocating the analysis, the red people, I should put a red person there. Can I put 2 red people there if I want?
You can put you can put 2 red persons there. A red person is basically a dice. And the dice is thrown, and maybe it's a 3, and they will finish 3 blocks, or it's a 1, they will finish 1 block.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whatever. It's quite random. If you put 2 of them, then they'll do more work. I think when you putting on more than 3 peeps, when we're slowing down. And another thing you should know, you can also put the developers on such stuff, and they will try to do business analysis, but they're not so good business analysts, so they will finish less work than a real business analyst, but they can help.
This is a cool game. This is like
wow. I mean, that's not how it works in reality, but that's okay.
Help each other. That's the T-shaped thing we were talking about. A tester isn't a perfect business analyst, but well, he can help. So why not help if there's a problem?
So then we place as many peeps as we want, and then we click begin work, and then like 1 day will go by. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
and all the dice will roll, and
Yeah.
some of our blocks will get more red or green or
Mm.
Yeah.
blue things on them based on the dice roll behind the scenes or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So so I think we should have a red guy, a red person on T.
Yeah.
Yelena. Okay, Yelena, it's your turn. You
I-
get to deploy a resource.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put it?
I'm looking from the testing side because that can be moved to done. So so we can put like as many of those pegs as we want, right? Like we can
Yeah.
put all of them. So, okay, so I would put one green on that, was it O or Q? Oh, I think, yeah,
Oh,
this one.
yeah.
This one in testing. And I see that M1, that's kind of done implementation. It seems to be waiting for testing. So
Yes.
I would move it to the right and I will put another green guy there. So that's
Alright.
my play.
Yeah. I like.
Oh, and
All right,
okay,
all
so
right.
it looks like
Your turn, guys. I don't know, Dominic, if you're
okay.
playing
Dominik,
or
your play. Dominik, your play.
Oh, okay. I'll take the developers. Doing this. Let's have a look if this works. So we got one business analyst left.
Let's put the business analyst. Can we? Oh, so how does the blocker go?
Yeah. The blocker, something bad happened. I don't know. The system went down or whatever. So basically, you have just to get rid of the blocker, and then you can work again on S.
Oh, so the blocker will resolve itself somehow eventually, and then a peep can work on the task underneath it, right?
Yeah, blocker will be resolved when those 6.
Yeah.
in
will be
6
finished.
days. Okay. Can we
you,
move?
you need to work on it. You do something.
You
like
do?
that.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So then,
Let's
yeah,
put the
6
peep.
blocks need to be filled with red. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's put the peep on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the day starts. The testers test. Ooh.
The tester's test. Nice.
Wow.
Oh.
Awesome testers.
Nice.
Whoa.
Oh. Developers.
Whoa. That developer's
Wow.
pretty good too.
Nearly.
Wow.
Oh, he removed the
Oh,
blocker.
cleared
Great.
the whole blocker.
Damn.
Wow.
Okay.
That okay. So that is not a realistic scenario at all.
I might just
But
go
it's
play this
okay, yeah,
game
but it's-
even
yeah.
without doing development stuff. This is cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, a new blocker.
Oh, no.
Oh.
what happened? Yeah.
Crap.
But then now on day 44, if we wanted to, we could start pulling in the backlog, right? We could take number Z, for example, and put Z into the active analysis, right? And then I could put a red peep on Z for this day, let's just say. And then Z would start going toward finished, for example. And then we could move N to testing and all this. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm just running the rules in my head here to get
yeah. Just think about it.
Yeah.
I want to point out one thing. But it was a quite good move to read the board from the right side to the left side, because you should focus on finishing stuff and not focus on starting new stuff.
Yeah.
New stuff just costs money because you need to implement it. But stuff lying around here, which you can get done, will deliver value to the user, or you can write a bill or invoice it or whatever. So your main focus should be finish stuff. And when you get stuff finished, then pull new stuff into the system. That's a very important thing. You don't get any prize for having 10 items in development in parallel, because if you develop 10 things at once, everything will get slower. You win if you focus. That's also what the system is highlighting here with that yellow-orange color, that you've got 5 items lying around in your analyst phase. Maybe we should change that and move some stuff to the right.
Shove them over, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So sorry, I have two kind of one observation, one question. So one is, we totally need to move that finish to implementation. But to me, it looks like if we don't pull anything from the backlog, it looks like we have one red guy sitting there doing nothing. That always kind of also creates uneasiness, I think, on the project, where people like, okay, what do I do now? And in this game, maybe you can throw analysts to do some testing. In reality, I don't know. It's sometimes not the case. And my question is like, what would be your thoughts on, and you already said some of this, pulling stuff from the backlog, because I've seen projects where it was like, okay, we don't really pull stuff from the backlog like almost at all, because otherwise we have sprints that will, it's not going to be done. Like we plan this stuff in the sprint, so we need to focus on working on this stuff. And even if we have people kind of available to do something else, we just don't move anything in because that's what we committed for.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
That's a common pattern and interesting observation. Let's say our implementation team is overloaded with a lot to do, and nearly nothing finishes. So the analysis teams could do the business analyst stuff whole day long, but it won't change anything because the bottleneck is the implementation team. We can write user stories as much as we want, nothing will get faster.
Yeah.
So we don't need to pull anything. We just need to pull enough to make sure that the developers have always something to do and never get bored. Yeah, that's the target of such a optimization. But as you say, it might happen. But whereas the implementation team has too much to do, the business analysts can't help. So what does these people do? And the answer is we got quite some stuff to do. We could help the testers to prepare testing stuff. We could learn new stuff. We could think about the process, how to improve it. We could whatever.
So if this was in real life, right? If I'm the real life director of engineering or whatever, right? And I'm putting real life peeps on real life tasks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But like, where do you see people go wrong in the real life version of this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do people make mistakes in that piece?
Yeah, I think the usual mindset is, oh, there's someone who doesn't have anything to do. He needs work right now. It's a bad thing if somebody has nothing to do, but usually you can find some valuable work, but sometimes just think that way. When we get an additional project, because we have some spare time, but actually we don't have spare time, or maybe we have a little bit, but when you work on two projects, everything gets slower.
Yeah.
And that will make this team slower if you put somebody in a second project or give him another job. This is quite big. To be able to react, you have to have people who have spare time and have the chance to react to new problems or stuff that changes. And if everybody works 110%, you might know every new thing that happens is total chaos. There's an event where we have to give a talk. Who has time for that? Nobody has time for it. Because everybody, you can't do such stuff, or you can do such stuff only with a price that your colleagues might say, "Oh, I'll quit," because it's way too much work. And like I said, putting more work in business analysis won't make the project any faster if the bottleneck is implementation, even if those people are working. And think about it, the business analysts will write user stories for the next 3 months. And in my eyes, that's actually worthless, because when 3 months have passed, you've learned so many new things that the user stories you wrote up front were useless, or that were not correct anymore. They don't show the real demand of the user, so you burned money, basically. And that's a big mindset switch in management, to tolerate that not everybody has 100% to do or whatever.
Yeah, definitely makes people nervous. All right, so let's do like another round, and then we will start wrapping up. So let's maybe move stuff from left to right. That I think typical move, right? Finish stuff goes to the right. Let's move that end to testing. And give it a green guy. or girl. Yeah, gender neutral peg.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah, and then obviously I think we should put Q into the active of the blue people.
Mm.
Yeah. And and give it a guy. Give it a blob. And probably T or R as well, right? Like
Yeah.
one of them at least. And give him a blue blob. Let's do T. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks to me like red blob can start on Z.
Okay,
Yep.
we've got one lonely tester left.
No, they can they work on N as well, or can they help
Sure.
with R?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's blast that in.
Let's see. Let's blast it. Let's see.
Work, money made.
All right, guys, go to work.
Yeah,
Hey,
tester,
and
awesome
it's finished.
testers.
Oh, this
That was a tough
developers.
one. Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Testers
Okay.
are crushing it. Yeah, so
Ooh, and then there's an event happened. Oh, interesting. Oh, and these have a deadline.
random events.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, you
Oh,
need to
nice.
finish it until day 53. Yeah.
Ah.
I think you made an interesting decision.
Yeah.
You could have all the developers on P or on Q to get one of that items finished for implementation, but you decided people should work alone, everybody
Yeah.
on one item, and you see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much work got done. Maybe Q would have been done if all three peeps would have worked on Q.
Mm.
Yeah, so would have been finished faster. Yeah. And just one outlook before we wrap up. That's with analytic view.
Oh yes, yeah.
And basically, what's a good thing to show? I think that one. That's an easy one. That's work item aging. Basically, it says how long your item is in your different columns. So if an item ages, it stays for more days in analysis, it's moving up to the red. And if it's here in the, okay, it's waiting here, in the implementation phase, it's also moving up. So what you can do when you look at that graphic, you can say, oh, if this, this item S, it's going slow, it's moving into red here, so the chance to finish it fast decreases. You should take care of item S, and you can say, oh, item Z, oh, it's in the green. It will, the chance is quite high, but it will finish on time. And we don't need to talk about this in our daily or whatever this works, but here's risk and here's risk. And basically, you've got these percentiles, and it says 70% of your work items have been finished in 13 days or less. And if you want to be in that range, have a look at your items and take care that they're only in the green. And if it's enough for you with a 95% chance to finish a work item in 90 days or less, then okay, it's okay that these items are in the orange areas. So you can reason about how to focus and where to put your people on by looking at such simple diagram. When you're just using Jira, which many teams do, we've got such a feature in a less cool version too, whereas where on the board view there are dots on the cards which represent the user story, and the older an item gets, the more dots are on those cards, and you can say, okay, this one has 10 dots. It's 10 days in this column. Oh, we should talk about that. And there's another one which has just one dot. It's totally okay how it's going. That's some magic stuff you can do with some statistics, because basically you're gathering data when using such a board. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's really, yeah, I really like the game. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's very soothing. I might just go and
I might just play it during my workday.
exactly. Like, oh, how are my peeps doing? Nice, nice. So yeah, yeah, thank you so much, Dominik, sharing this with us. It was really, really
You're
cool
welcome.
stuff, really helpful. Really, I
thinking,
think lots of food for thought and like some
Yeah.
really revelational stuff about things that we are doing wrong, some misconceptions.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, just I want to finish with maybe final words of wisdom, maybe some action you want people to take, or just your final thoughts. I don't know, Dominik, let's maybe start with you. What would be your final word of wisdom?
Yeah, I know many developers don't care much about software development process. They just say there is a process, or
Yeah,
maybe there also isn't a process. There's no defined process, and it's really helpful to use such a board and move the tickets because it protects you as a developer.
yeah,
Um, you can talk to stakeholders about it and prioritize and show risk, and that's very valuable. And as you can see, you don't have to do so much stuff to make it happen. Just put it on board and think about play that game with your team, and you can think about what's your next best move to finish stuff. Start on the right side and think finish first, start later.
Yeah. I think great advice, Paul. What are your deep thoughts?
I think so. Something you said earlier, Dominik, really grabbed me, and the way I kind of say it is communication is the skill from which all other skills derive, right? And I think that is there's almost no place more apparent than in team software development where that is true, right? Where when whether you're talking about the pair programming or mega programming stuff that we talked about earlier, or we're just talking about like handoffs and handovers, or we're talking about the planning process, the technical skills are only they're never as important as you think they are at the start of your career, right? But like when I first started doing like dev work, I thought the best thing I can be is the universe's best like algorithmic whatever guy, right? And as I kind of grew up, as I kind of grew up in a team process when I could be on teams, it just became apparent to me that like it might be fun to like type the code that does that stuff, but to get things done, that comms piece is the actual engine that drives the whole thing.
That's a famous quote. It's called developers don't implement what the user wants. They implement what they think the user wants, because we can't look in the brain of the person. So we need to talk. You can write as many requirement definitions as you want. You need to talk, and you need to get user feedback fast to make the user happy. Communication is key. Absolutely,
yeah. And to me, I think there is some confirmation bias in it for me, because keep it simple is my favorite principle for pretty much everything. And from what you said, I mean, before, I think it just confirmed once again how successful it can be with your, for example, stories. Just use like 1 and 2 and 3, and otherwise it's just too complicated. I think that there is some great wisdom in not creating complexity where it doesn't need to be. So yeah, I think it's a great
developers
thoughts.
like complexity.
Even though it's bad.
Complexity. But new database, great.
Awesome.
Let's do microservices.
Oh my goodness. No.
Who could forget microservices?
Oh my god. Let's not go into microservices. So next in the next issue we'll talk about microservices. Sweet. So Dominic, I know that you have lots of things that you working on. I think in your spare time, if you have any lots of like projects of passion, do you want to share some of those with our viewers?
Oh, yeah, I would be glad to do. Give me a second.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So gonna give you a boost. They will go viral immediately. Get
Yeah.
lots of support. That's what we want to
You
see.
can find me on GitHub. I've got
No,
some
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
small open source projects going on there. One is a BDD testing framework for ABAP. BDD is something that focus on communication between software developers and users. And the main focus is to formulate tests in a human language. So people could, it improves communication. And there's a famous framework called Cucumber outside the SAP world, and I did an ABAP version for that. So if you want to try out, I've got a big blog about it. And I've got some code cutters I like to do with my team. Some are ABAP versions, adapted versions, because some stuff just doesn't work in ABAP, like console or easy file access or whatever. It's just painful. So I converted them. It's lift class pricing cutter. And there's my own one, the metadata management. It's a utilities in the utilities area, and it's a refactoring cutter. It's the one I solved live on ABAPConf last year, I think. So you can also have a look at the ABAPConf videos to see me use Eclipse ADT and how powerful it is. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So if you're interested in such stuff, just have a look at my repository. If you have questions or want to contribute, I'm happy. I'm also happy about feedback in any way. So yeah, just go for it.
Awesome. Sweet. So yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule, in your very late evening time to talk to us. And yeah, thank you, Paul, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you got really great food for thought here. And drop us a comment, like and subscribe, and contribute to Dominic's open source projects. I think that would be great to get some community input on that. So yeah, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.